Plaintiff Linda Schaefer says she and the defendant were best friends for 23 years, and Linda has always been there for her. But the defendant repaid her by having her falsely arrested for assault and battery. Linda is suing her former friend for moving expenses, furniture, and emotional distress. Defendant Alexis Thompson says the reason she's no longer friends with Linda is because Linda is a drug-addicted prostitute and a habitual shoplifter who even stole Alexis's cat. Alexis says she had Linda arrested because she did assault her, and Alexis is countersuing for emotional distress.
Start with you.
Well, Your Honor, Lexi and I are best friends for 23 years. I helped her move across the country. I did everything for her, Your Honor. And this is how she repays me, by having me arrested for assault and battery and breaking and entering.
Why'd you do it?
Let me start at the beginning.
Huh?
Let me start at the beginning.
Start at the beginning, okay, yeah.
Lexi and I met in 1990, and we immediately clicked. We became best friends, and she was the maid of honor at my wedding and at the birth of my only child, Nikita, in 1997. Some years later, she moved to California with her son, and we stayed close over the years. In February of 2012, Lexi decided to relocate. She was having some trouble, so I decided to help her. She wanted to relocate to Boston, so I helped her move. I paid for her packing expenses, her shipping expenses. I went to California, I flew there. I helped her pack. I flew back with her and her 2 cats, and I paid for all of this. And in the meantime, I got her an apartment, secured it, and furnished it for her, all at my expense.
Okay, now I hear you say you paid for this. Was this to be repaid?
Yes, it was a loan.
Okay. Ma'am, you want to give me some background?
Your Honor. The reason Ms. Schaefer and I are no longer friends is because she's a prostitute, a drug addict, a habitual shoplifter, and she stole my beloved cat, Poppy, who I never saw ever again.
So that's where she gets all this money for moving and furniture and all
Well, Your Honor, the things
from
that
prostitution?
Well, she did
She's
make a lot of money.
highly paid prostitute?
That's ridiculous.
Think she get big money? How much you think she gets?
She made a lot of money as a prostitute.
So, man, how much you think a night?
She would often make $1,000 off of one client.
Wow, $1,000 a client.
That's
and how
completely
many
untrue.
per?
I can't
How many
believe she's
per
saying
night?
this.
Usually?
Oftentimes 3 or 4 clients a night.
So she made $3,000 a night.
Wow.
Your Honor.
Whoa. That's right. You got any? They got any openings on the stroll? Go ahead, ma'am.
But Your Honor, the things that she gave me were given as gifts. They were given
we haven't gotten to that part. So far, what I've heard from you is that she makes $3,000 a night as the prostitute. She moved you to town, and she took your cat. Good enough. Now, what else do you want
After
me
I
to
helped
know
her
now?
move and was so generous in lending her this money, we had a verbal agreement that she would pay me back weekly, which never happened. In the end of July of 2012, we had a fight.
How much was she to pay weekly?
Well, it was to depend on the kind of job she got.
You loan a person how much, ma'am? How much were the expenses and furniture total?
The total was,
because you should really know how to add. Let her tell it. You know I'm having fun with you, man, because under no circumstances do I believe that nonsense. That's nonsense, and we're just having fun with it and making her look ridiculous, if anything.
Your Honor, I was making payments.
Where was she doing? Oh, I thought you was going back into that nonsense. I thought you was going back into that nonsense. I want to know what stroll was she on? What hotel was she working out of? Now you leave that alone, that on nonsense. Go ahead. So
we had a verbal agreement, which never happened.
Okay, and you.
So
go
at
ahead.
the end of July 2012, we had a fight over a computer because she wanted me to buy her a computer, and I already had lent her so much money, I felt uncomfortable with it. So I told her no. She then told me she's never going to pay me back, even if she gets a job.
Okay.
All the money I lent her. At that point, I became very angry, and indeed, I was childish and went into her apartment with the key. Now, I had a key because I was on the lease, and I had my own set of keys to her apartment. I went into her apartment and took my curtains and my air conditioner, which I had purchased, which I'm not suing her for today. And I took them home.
Did you get in trouble?
Well, yes.
Yeah.
This is what happened. I left my keys in the apartment, in her apartment. So when she came home, we bumped into each other.
That's putting it mildly.
And we had a screaming match back and forth. And then she pushed me with 2 hands
Your
on
Honor,
the
I
chest.
did not push her.
Let her finish.
And then I pushed her back with 2 hands. It was mutual combat. She then had me arrested the next day for assault and battery.
She should have for breaking in her house, too, or apartment.
But I was on the lease, sir.
That doesn't mean you can walk in and out of somebody's house just because you own the lease. Absolutely not. That's burglary like it is anywhere else.
The reason Ms. Schaefer and I are no longer friends is because she's a drug addict and a prostitute. She would often make $1,000 off of one client.
Wow.
Your Honor.
Whoa! They got any openings on the stroll?
Defendant Alexis Thompson says she was friends with the plaintiff, but their friendship is no more because the plaintiff is a drug-addicted prostitute who assaulted her.
Just because a person doesn't have credit and they get something and you get something in your name for them doesn't mean that you have 24-hour access, that you can come in there while she's in there with her husband or boyfriend and say, get up! Get up out of that bed. Give it to me. I'm going to get that. I'll loan that bed to you. Get up!
Well, we had an open door policy, Your Honor.
Did you agree that she could come in and out at her leisure?
Absolutely not, Your Honor.
Right, and you were prosecuted for what?
I was charged with breaking and entering.
Oh, just like I said, right?
I wasn't charged with it.
And assault and battery,
And
Your
assault and
Honor.
battery.
She was found guilty, Your Honor, and she's on probation right now.
I was found guilty of assault, yes.
Did they drop the other charge?
Yes.
Probably as part of a plea bargain, or did you go to trial?
No, I didn't go to trial.
Oh, you pled guilty.
I pled to assault, which I
Right,
admittedly
and because
did.
they agreed to drop the burglary. I know how this goes. That's my first time
Judge.
hearing it. Yeah. And I mean, yes, they gave you probation. It'll come off your record, contingent upon
Right.
you not getting any more trouble.
Exactly.
See, exactly. I know exactly how it goes.
Yes,
They
you
charged you with what they believe you did, as I believe you broke in the house, and your lawyer said, okay, Linda. Prosecutor says that they'll drop the burglary and breaking and entering charge if you'll plead guilty to assault and battery. You want to do that? If I don't, then you might get 10 years if you find guilty of this breaking. Okay, assault and battery. Now tell me that's not how that went.
Kind of.
Kind of. That's exactly how it went. All right, but expenses for the furniture and the moving. Let's talk about that because I don't believe this nonsense you're talking about with this woman being some type of prostitute or another.
Your Honor, I have police reports here that show that Ms. Schaefer has been arrested for prostitution.
That's a dirty lie.
Right here at the bottom.
Let me see it, please, Dora.
Right at the bottom. Has been arrested for it.
Sexual conduct for a fee, keeping a house of ill fame, and conspiracy. What happened to those charges, ma'am?
They were all dropped.
So, Your Honor, it is true that she is a prostitute.
Oh, no, I think, let me read this. I think keeping the house is a madam, no. Let's see. This is you. Thompson stated that Schaefer reassured her that she was no longer abusing Oxy or prostituting. Thompson stated that Schaefer did provide her with a winter coat, household items, and 9 Oxycontin pills. She also stated that Schaefer offered to watch her 2 cats for a while. She stated that she then sent Schaefer a text message informing her that she no longer wished for any contact between them. Ma'am, how many times they charge you with prostitution? Huh? Ma'am?
Once?
Once with prostitution? Okay. Never convicted?
Nope.
All right. Ma'am, she's never been convicted. What else do you know?
Okay, well, Your Honor,
Because people are arrested and charged all the time. You're not convicted.
I was around her while she was...
sometimes innocent, sometimes they just get away.
I was around her while she was working as a prostitute at her house last summer last
Men
summer.
were coming in and out.
This is such...
Yes, while men were coming in and out, she worked out of her home.
What were you doing?
Yeah, Lexi, what were you doing?
Sometimes just on the back porch smoking a cigarette, waiting for her to be done. And men would come in and out of her house while she had a teenage daughter there.
That's what I was about to say. I have a child there.
And she had a burner phone that the men would call on, and she would be on the burner phone all day long while the men would call her.
This is completely untrue,
How old is
sir.
your child?
I have a 16-year-old child
What
at
would
home.
the 16-year-old child be when all this is going down?
She would be in her room, or she would sometimes be at her dad's house, but she would be in her room or something like that.
I don't believe this woman would do that
untrue.
with a 16-year-old in her room. I don't believe any of that. Don't believe you.
I witnessed
Don't
them, Your
believe
Honor.
you.
She's lying, Your Honor.
I believe she is about that.
No, Your Honor. We were together all the time, Your Honor.
I don't know about this 10 times.
Well,
everybody ain't wrong, man.
Your
Out of
Honor.
these 10 times, you was doing something. Now, I was arrested about 10 times, and I was doing something many of those times. Sexual conduct for a fee, keeping a house of ill fame, and conspiracy. What happened to those charges, ma'am?
They were all dropped.
So, Your Honor, it is true that she is a prostitute.
Defendant Alexis Thompson says she was friends with the plaintiff, but their friendship is no more because the plaintiff is a drug-addicted prostitute who assaulted her.
Your counterclaim for $4,000 for emotional distress is for what?
Your Honor, when I came home one day after I had ended my friendship with her, she was waiting for me in the parking lot, and she screamed for me and ran through the parking lot, and I was very scared to see her because I hadn't seen her for a while, and she chased me up the stairwell to a locked door and then pushed her way into my apartment, which was the first breaking and entering, or I'm sorry, the second breaking and entering. The first one was when she broke in during the daytime.
How did you respond when she was asking for money?
I had been paying her back.
That's a lie.
Not perfectly every single week, but I had been making payments, Your Honor.
Okay, good. Good to know that you agreed that it was a loan. All right. Now, ma'am, I'm not going to grant you your $500 in emotional distress. I will grant you your $4,014. She admits that she was trying to pay you back, meaning that she admits she owes you. With regard to your emotional distress, ma'am, she admits to assaulting and battering you. Therefore, I am going to grant you $2,500 for the assault and battery and the emotional distress you suffered as a result of. Leaving you, ma'am, with $1,514? Yep. $1,514 is what you're left with. Have a good day, ladies.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'd like to say that I'm glad that it's concluded after all this time, and that hopefully we can put this behind us now.
Yeah, I think that's great. I'd like to put it behind us also.